everyone. Call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone here. Just want to mention before we start here, if you have your cell phones here with you this evening, if you could either shut them off or put them on mute so that we don't have accidental ringing through the meeting. We'd appreciate that. Looking for any declarations of conflict of interest from council? I see none. Okay.
In terms of the 18.7 acres of land rental, I'll be declaring a conflict of interest on that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vokes. I just want to mention too, Mayor McDermott will be here very shortly. He was out of town on town business, and he will be returning. His plane just landed at 5 o'clock this afternoon, so he's doing his best to get here to continue on with the meeting. My name is Richard Malash, and I'm just going to fill in for the mayor until he gets here, he arrives. So I need an adoption of the published agenda, moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any additions or comments? Councillor Snively.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I'd like, under new business, I'd like to bring up two issues here. One is just to speak briefly on the harbor parking. The second issue is organizations or groups coming forward asking for taxpayers' money. I'd like to bring that issue up and talk a little bit on that one. And the CEO position of the 5-year contract that's recommended 5-year, I think that would be brought up. That issue is going to be brought up further. And I get recommendations.
Councillor Snively will probably come up under the Personnel Committee minutes.
Okay, I'll bring that issue forward then. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Just a note.
Okay. Any further additions that we have? Just one other item. We're going to delay the public presentation until Mayor McDermott is here. He's asked, and I have talked to Mr. Cascadin, and he is okay with that. So we're going to delay it just a little bit until the mayor actually gets here. So next, so let's vote on that adoption of the minutes with the changes moved by Councillor Bjorkman and Councillor Bondi. All in favor? That's carried. Unfinished business, Councillor Snively. Oh. Oops, sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Item 4 on the agenda, adoption of minutes from the May 16th regular council meeting.
Thank you for that. Adoption of minutes from May 16th, moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any question on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So now we'll go on to unfinished business, and that's Councillor Snively in regard to property standards update.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to touch on this for a couple of seconds, just to let the general public know. Okay, I've been getting a lot of emails on property standard issues, and I just want the public to understand that we are working on it, and we are on top of all the issues. It takes time. It's a process, and I just want the public to understand that when the complaint is brought forward to me, I forward to administration. There's a process that we have to go through, and some of the second and third offenders, it gets involved in the court system, and it does take time to serve them. So I just want the public to be aware of that we are on top of property standards, and we're going to get very, very, very tough on property standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Snively. Any questions to Councillor Snively on the issue? Then we'll move forward to reports from administration. First report is corporate services. Clerk's report on closed council meetings from May the 25th and June the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On May 25th and June 6th, council by motion moved into closed session to consider business as it's permitted to do so under Section 239 of the Municipal Act. As a result of the May 25th closed session, I can report that direction was provided to administration in regards to the disposition of land identified as 111 Crystal Lane. And as a result of the June 6th closed session, Council received information concerning Town of Essex information technology policies pursuant to Section 239 3.1. And that's the extent of my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Auger. Can I have someone receive this verbal report? Moved by Councillor Caxero and supported by Councillor Snively. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item B, Corporate Services Report number 2016-003, appointment of a Municipal Heritage Committee. Supported by Councillor Bondi, or moved by Councillor Bondi, sorry. Supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? If none, all in favor? That's carried. Item C, Planning Department Report number 2016-18 is a site plan control amendment in regard to ATM Pharmacies Limited. And, looks like our clerk here would like to speak to the issue.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a quick note. The agenda cover refers to the property as a 196 Talbot Street South, and the body of the report itself refers to a 169 Talbot Street. I've confirmed before the meeting with the Planning Department, and the proper municipal address is 167 Talbot Street South.
Thank you for that confirmation. We'd like to hear from, this is definitely not Jeff Watson, as the sign says. This is Rita Jabor from our Planning Department. Would we like to hear from Rita Jabor? Okay, so Rita, we'll pass it over to you to go through the report.
Through you, Your Worship, good evening, everyone. This report is recommending that Council approve the application of ATM Pharmacies Limited for site plan control approval and the execution of a site plan control bylaw and agreement for the development of a medical center at 167 Talbot Street South. Some of you might be aware of the property in the Essex Center. It is currently occupied by the Essex Guardian Drugs Pharmacy. The project proponents are proposing to build a new modern one-story building to house the pharmacy itself and new medical facilities. The development will actually take place in 2 phases. The older building will be retained as the new building will be built in the area of the current parking. Temporary parking, 5 spaces, will be reserved on the side of the property during the construction of the new building. Once the new building is constructed, the older building will be demolished, and that entire area where the older building currently resides will be paved and make room for 49 new parking spaces. 3 of those parking spaces will be handicap accessible. Under our zoning bylaw, we only require 1. We've actually added 2 extra to that because of the nature of the development. The proponents have come in and have been able to take advantage of our community improvement plan money as well for landscaping, for any sort of professional development, professional services with regards to architecture drawings or landscape drawings. So this will be a significant new development in the area. Across the street is, as you're aware, is the St. Mike's medical facility as well, so it fits in well with the nature of the actual neighborhood.
Thank you, Ms. Jabor. Any questions? So there's quite a lengthy suggestion as to what we're moving here. So if anyone would like to move as suggested, Councillor Snively.
And just to say I'm happy to see it's coming to Essex, so great for us.
And supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Thank you. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously. At this point in time, I see Mayor McDermott has walked back into the room here. Thank you for trying to get here as quickly as you can. I've already told everyone the situation, so we're gonna switch spots immediately here, Mr. Mayor. Get me out of the hot seat.
If I just may make a comment, I apologize for being late. Deputy Mayor Malash just told me he's explained what has happened and everything, and I'm sure myself and the Warden Tom Bain were the first ones to put in for FCM, through the county before our council members did, and we got the last flight out. I think it was the first one. No, it wasn't the first one in, but it was the last one out. And we've been racing to get here, so thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Malash.
We're at 17. Okay. So, Your Worship, we're going to move back to item 5 in the agenda, which was the public presentation for the Senior of the Year Award.
Okay, if I could have Mr. Cascadden come right up front here, and I'll slide right out here. Yeah, come right in through here, Floyd, please.
Yep. Yeah. Betty Lou Frith. Betty Lou Frith from the Essex Retiree Social Club.
Mayor, if I could.
Yes, Councilor Bogues.
Mr. Cascade, and I see Randy there. I got to tell you, and I'm sure you gentlemen will remember this. Years ago, when the Essex Tavern was open, I remember you, sir, coming. Randy's laughing, and I remember that you used to be able to outdance your son Randy during the disco era. Is that correct in saying that? Boy, I remember you could lay some moves down. You made John Travolta look real bad during that time period. There you go.
Glad his son's here. Thank you.
That like yesterday. It wasn't a Saturday night without that event taking place.
Notice the family out there. Good.
I know, that was good. Okay. Next, Your Worship, on the agenda, we're over to item 7D, which is Planning Department Report Number 2016-16, re-event signage in the Town of Essex sign bylaw. Said report for receipt and Council's concurrence with the recommendations contained, and the noted amendments to bylaw number 1350 to provide for the placing of special event signage in public rights-of-way for nonprofit and charitable organizations and tourist-orientated and seasonal businesses. And that bylaw 1523, being a bylaw regulating the erection of signs in the Town of Essex, receive a first and second reading.
Moved by Councilor Caxero, supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Oh, question. Councilor Snyder.
Through your worship, just quickly on the sign issue. The signs that's presently out there right now, okay, like for local businesses, I see some of them are up, back up again. So this is okay as long as they have a permit, right? Am I right around there?
Yes, Mr. Nepsey. No.
Through your worship, private business signs aren't allowed in the public right-of-way. What this report is suggesting is that for nonprofit organizations and special events, that through council resolution and a sign permit they be.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure on
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 7E, Planning Department Report Number 2016-17, re 2016 Community Improvement Plan Reserve Transfer for receipt and support.
Moved by Councilor Bundy, supported by Councilor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Report 7F, Fire Department, Report Number 2016-002, re Pre-Hospital Joint Operational Cyanide Antidote Deployment Agreement. Said report for receipt, and that bylaw number 1524, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between Windsor Regional Hospital, the County of Essex, City of Windsor, and all municipalities in the County of Essex, including the Town of Essex, be read a first and second reading.
Deputy Mayor Meloche and Councilor Snively, questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Report, or item 7G, Corporate Services Department, report number 2016-06, revisions to the Code of Conduct for council members. Said report for receipt and approval of the recommended revisions.
Moved by Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Councilor Caxero. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 7H, Corporate Services Department, report number 2016-07, re-farmland lease agreement. That said report be received, and looking for council's concurrence with the recommendations contained in the report, namely that the town enter a lease agreement with Mr. Shepley to cover a 5-year term based on rent of $3,750 a year, with rent for 2018 to 2020 to be adjusted by the year-over-year change in the CPI. And that bylaw number 1525, being a bylaw to authorize the lease of this farmland, be read a first and second time.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Caxiros. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. I'm going to direct this to Ms. Hunter. I believe the bid came through, and you were one of the persons that looked at the RFP and what bid came in. So I just have a question on exactly what Mr. Shepley, what his bid was.
Through you, Your Worship, on consulting with Rob just before the meeting, I've confirmed that what was in the offer was basically the rent of $3,750 for the year. There was, at that point, the agreement or the ad said that there was an option to renew at some future point, but what was bid was actually the 1 year at $3,750.
Thank you.
Councillor Snively.
Through your worship to Donna, there was no conditions in there whatsoever. It was just a cut lease, 5-year lease at $3,750.
Through you, the option to go to a 5-year was brought up after the bid was submitted,
Okay.
and as was the request that the first year the rent be foregone.
Thank you.
Anything further? I may have one or two to you, Mrs. Hunter. This $3,750, is this the going rate in the past years? Would it be anywhere near that, or?
Through you, Your Worship, no, it's actually a little bit lower than what we've had in prior years. Give me a second here. In 2014, it was $3,927 that we received, and in 2015, we received $4,955.50.
49.
Sorry, $4,955.50.
Now, and in the past, I do believe that it was a 1-year lease with an option for a second year.
Through you, Your Worship, no, in the past it was a 1-year lease. There was no option
There
for
was no
a
option.
further second year.
Okay. Was there a reason we just rented out yearly versus a 5-year contract?
I think there was some thought that there may be other uses for that land at some point, and we didn't want to tie into a long term. At this point, I've spoken to the Director of Infrastructure and Development, and he's all right with a 5-year, provided we have the ability to take it over if we do have a need for it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Snively?
Yes, through your worship to Donna, we only had one bid, right? We only had one person come forward on this.
Through Your Worship, yes, we only had the one bid.
Thank you.
Deputy.
Just further that, just to your worship, and that's why we're at, we had a rent of $4,900 compared to $3,750 this year. We only had one bid.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Malash?
Yes, through you, Your Worship. So after the bid was received at $3,750 for the year, for this year, then there was some talk about wanting something different. And what was requested was $0 the first year, $3,750 every year after that for four more years.
Speaking through your worship, yes, we had a subsequent discussion with Mr. Shepley, and due to the fact that it was late in the growing season, and he expressed, I believe he had looked at the property after the bid, and he had expressed dissatisfaction with the state of condition, and so because of those two factors, the timing and the state of condition of the land, according to his opinion, he thought that a 5-year lease, he was interested in the 5-year lease, but he was looking for relief for the first year.
Follow up?
Yes, sir.
So what we're proposing right now is we're just going back and proposing this. He hasn't accepted the terms, these terms at right now.
To my knowledge, we have not spoken to him about the terms of what we're proposing in here in terms of 5-year with 5 years rent. No.
Thank you.
Councillor Bondi?
Thank you. In listening to the conversation, I'm not sure if there's room for some latitude here. At the end of the day, if we did throw in 1 year free, we're getting $15,000. Right now, we're getting $18,750. Or we could technically accept $3,000 a year for 5 years, and that gives us our $15,000. I'm not sure. I don't know the property. I know that there wasn't multiple bids on the property, so that's kind of concerning. I do not want to lose out on renting the property. At this point, I would give administration a little bit of latitude to work with Mr. Shepley to secure the transaction, whatever that looks like.
Okay, anything further? Deputy Mayor Melange.
One point. The problem is that if we're changing the whole structure of how the bid goes on it, then if we had put in the paper the condition of the farm is not very good, we're going to give it to you free the first year, what do you want to bid on it? It might have opened up a whole different stream of people that were going to bid on the land. You know what I mean? So we're changing the conditions of the bid. We'd almost have to, if we're going to say zero the first year, you'd almost have to say, well, let's open it up to everybody. Maybe we get 20 other people who would bid on it, and maybe offer more money in the out years because they're getting it free for the first year. You know what I mean? So that's just my thought.
Councillor Caxero?
Just a point of clarification, it'll be written into the lease agreement that if we need the property at any point during the lease, that we would be able to get the property back for use?
In the lease, there is a provision for that, yes.
Further? Say, Councillor Bjorkman.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a little confused right now. I made my motion based on just what I read here, and I'm hearing much more to the story now with regard to what the actual bid was. What we asked for was a 1-year bid for this parcel of land. Is that correct? Is that what was posted?
Mrs. Hunter?
Through your worship, we asked for 1 year with an option to renew for a second year.
With an option for a second. So now we've gotten to the point where we are going to do a 5-year term based on that dollar amount that really wasn't part of the bid for work on this property. So it seems to me this is completely different from what we actually sent out our bid for. So I tend to agree with Sherry. I'd like to leave administration some latitude to come back to us with something like, let's have some negotiation and have the data in front of us that the two parties are agreeing on. So at this point, I'd like to withdraw my motion, if I'm allowed to do that, in support of this.
Seconder was Councillor Caxero. And you're okay with it? Good. Okay, Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, the only problem with delaying what we do here is the growing season. The growing season right now, like we're getting a little late right now for corn. We're into the bean season now. So we're in June 6th now. The time we get the recommendation back from administration and pass it through council, it could be towards the end of June. So we're hurting the chance of a good yield coming off this property. So I'm really against delaying it any further. I think a decision should be made here tonight, what we're going to do, because this guy is going to farm the land and he wants to put a crop in, plain and simple. The yield, if we wait till the end of June, we're getting a little late during the planting season. So that's my opinion. I think that a decision should be made tonight on this. Thank you.
Any other comments? I do have one, and it was going to be with regards to the growing season. This 3750 figure is based on what I heard, a short growing season. Now that doesn't mean the next 4 years are going to be a short growing season. I can see 3750 for this year, but why would we give someone a 5-year contract at the same figure if the reason we're basing that on is a short growing period? you know, when we've had almost $5,000 an acre or for that property earlier. Mrs. Hunter.
Your Worship, the 3750 in the 5-year term would be adjusted in year 3, 4, and 5 for the Consumer Price Index change. If council's not comfortable with the 5-year, we can simply go to what was originally bid, and that was a 1-year with an option to renew. If by chance that isn't acceptable to Mr. Shepley, then either we can just let the land go without working it this year and just cut the grass, as the director of infrastructure has noted can be done, and then rebid it out next year. Or we can retender it with different wording.
There's another item, 3, 4, and 5 years could be adjusted by the price index or whatever it was you said, and that's not in this report, so that's another plus in Mr. Shepley's case, you know, I would think. So anything further? So we have no motion on the floor right now, so if someone would like to make a motion, Councillor Snively.
I would make a motion that we come into an agreement with Mr. Shepley for $37.50, and let's move on with it. And, you know, I think getting something, Your Worship, out of this is better than nothing than having it sit there empty. So I'm going to make a motion that we come into the lease agreement $37.50.
Need a seconder.
And you know what? I would go it's a small parcel of land, and a lot of these farmers with big pieces of machinery, they don't even want to touch a small piece of land like this, and they really don't. So at $37.50, I would go the 5-year term on it. Thank you.
Do we have a Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bondi. Support? Any questions to the motion? And you did clarify my question, Councillor Snively, was going to be $37.50 the first year or every year, and you did say for 5 years. Okay, ready for the question. Councillor Caxero.
So through Your Worship, to Councillor Snively, the indexing for year 3, 4, and 5 is not part of your motion? No, it's not.
Would you like to repeat that question, Bill, to Councillor Snively? Mrs. Hunter didn't hear you.
The question was, the indexing for years 3, 4, and 5 would not be part of the motion. It'll be a flat rate of the $37.50 for each of the 5 years.
Councillor Snively.
And through Your Worship, the
Oh,
only
hang on. We have a motion on the floor. I'll give you the last chance. Okay? Anyone else? Because I have a question with regards to the 3, 4, 5 year thing. What kind of money are we looking at? Possibly this happening in years 3, 4, or 5.
Through Your Worship, you're talking about the CPI adjustment portion? It's roughly about 2% a year. That's rough. I mean, I can't tell you what that is going to be exactly, but I'll give you an idea. So around $60.
Thank you very much. Councillor Snively,
No,
you have
I'm fine, Your Worship.
Okay. Okay, nothing further. Ready for the question. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
Item 7I, Community Services, Report Number 2016-019, read June is Recreation and Parks Month. Said report for receipt for council information, and that council proclaim June as Recreation and Parks Month for the town of Essex.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Caxero. Questions to the motion? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 7J on the agenda, Community Services Report Number 2016-018, results of request for proposal for the design, supply, and install new Bridlewood Park playground equipment. Said report for receipt and council's concurrence with the recommendations, and that the request for proposal be awarded to New Work Park Solutions at the bid proposal price of $174,761.85, inclusive of HST.
In the order. Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Councilor Bondi. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 8, reports from youth members.
Ms. Abbott, have anything for us?
I do have one thing. I don't know if you guys have heard about it yet, but our school is hosting an alumni kind of meeting on June 18th at the high school. There's going to be like a talent show. We're going to be burying a time capsule that our leadership class is actually in the process of making right now, which we plan on digging up in 15 years and kind of looking back on the memories of Harrow High School. So if you guys want to come on out to that, I believe it starts at 11 o'clock, and there'll be like food, games, stuff like that, just a big like kind of memory of the school.
Thank you very much. June 18th, 11 a.m. Okay, thank you. We have a motion to receive that report. Councilor Snively and Councilor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 9 on the agenda, County Council update. I'm not sure if there's an update, Your Worship.
Mayor Lash, would you like
Thank you,
to?
through your worship. There is no update at this point in time.
I would just say maybe that we have, I don't know if you watch County Council or not, but we have got Tom Bateman, Roads Department man, setting up a meeting with the 3 mayors that are involved with the widening of Highway number 3, which is Essex, Kingsville, and Leamington, and the warden and himself setting up a meeting in Toronto with Minister Del Duca. Might be a change, seeing as we're coming down here. They're trying to get him to come and meet with us instead of us going to Toronto, but that's with regards to number 3 highway. So we haven't forgotten about it for sure.
Okay. Item 10 on the agenda, correspondence. Item 10A, correspondence to be received by council. That the correspondence listed in agenda items 10A 1 to 9 be received and where indicated to further share such information with the community.
Moved by Councilor Snively, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 10B on the agenda, correspondence to be considered for receipt and support by council. That the correspondence from Diana and Jerry Pollock of 885 County Road 50 East, dated May 6, requesting relief from the town's noise bylaw be received. That council supports the request and an exemption to the bylaw be granted on August 27, 2016 from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. with police to be notified of the exemption.
Moved by Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Councilor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed?
Item 11 on the agenda, committee meeting minutes. That the committee meeting minutes in items 11A through E be received, adopted, and the recommendations contained therein be approved as presented.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Malash, supported by Councilor Snively. With a question, sir.
Through your worship, on that part of the recommendation I do not agree with. I can't see being, I shouldn't say forced into a 5-year contract. I think asking somebody to sign a 5-year contract is a little bit much. For example, if we're unhappy with one of our personnel, you know, we got a 5-year contract, we're committed, and if it's a 5-year rough go with an employee, it's pretty hard to get rid of them. And I don't want to see the town on the hook for a 5-year salary. So I support the recommendation except for that 5-year part of it. I think that should be taken out. Okay. I don't think any employee should be forced to sign a 5-year contract. That's my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, the reason why 5 years was discussed and ultimately recommended, it was through consultation with our HR manager and also CAO that sat in on the initial round of interviewing. It's felt that that's the way of attracting people to come for certain positions. There's also going to be clauses written in the contract that have the ability to have both either us or the person in that position, if there's a reason beyond our control at this point. We don't know how things are going to work out with anybody, so there will be clauses that there can be mutual agreement to cease the contract prior to the 5 years. So, and I think once that language comes forward from our manager of the HR, you'll see that it isn't tying our hands to anything.
Sure. Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm the type of person that says the way it is. We have somebody internally that is interested in this job, is well aware of open files, okay, and well qualified for the job. And this certain person is probably going to retire before the 5-year is up. So that's why I'm bringing this recommendation forward. I do not believe there's a need to have somebody sign a 5-year contract. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councillor Vokes.
I definitely agree with Larry. Anybody knows corporate structure, corporate business, and human resources, the 5-year contract does absolutely nothing. It does nothing. We as a council and administration as administration have the opportunity and the rights to dissolve an employment consideration anytime we want. The paper that contract is written on is not worth the paper it's written on. It means nothing. It has nothing bearing. Councillor Caxero suggests that it's written in such a term that at any time we can get out. That alone tells me it is just a fabricated document that really doesn't hold no weight to it. No weight at all. There is nobody who should be understood that you're going into an agreement of employment for a 5-year period and then we'll figure out what we're going to do there after that. It's not fair. There's families, there's mortgages, there's transfers, there's jobs, and the first time there's a little hiccup on a 5-year agreement, the person, whoever he or she may be, starts looking and heading out because things get a little rough and you're on a 5-year contract, which may have nothing to do with what they've done as a CAO, but it reflects on them and their chair. It's not a valid process to put in place in terms of hiring, not even close.
Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. But it's the move that most municipalities are going to now is 5-year contracts. It's kind of arbitrary, but it gives a lot more flexibility. It gives commitment from the town for 5 years. Even though it's easier to get out of these, it's easy to get out of the contracts one way or another, whether it's the prospective employee or whether it's the town. But it gives a general sense of, look, we're going to give you 5 years on this job, guaranteed, basically, unless there's major screw-ups. But there's a review at the end of 5 years that says, hey, you know what, we can part one way or another, and that's been generally accepted. We're hearing this on the personnel committee from HR experts that are telling us this is the way to go. So it's obviously council's decision whether they want to do this or not. If there's other councilors that have heard other avenues that would prefer not to go that route, that's fine. But from a personnel perspective, that's what we've heard. Other municipalities are going in this direction. Actually, there's several municipalities right here in the county that are doing it now. And they're finding that it works very well. They've been doing it for the last few years now. They're finding that it works very well. They're saying if you offer only a 2-year contract, that you actually have to throw more dollars at it because there's a little bit less stability to it when you say only 2 years. So they're suggesting 5 years is a relatively clean number that allows for reasonable wages to be negotiated. But that's what HR experts are telling us as the personnel committee. Our new manager, Ms. McGowan, is telling us that, is recommending that, and that's what she's hearing in the field as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, I'll go this way. Councillor Bonnie, Councillor Vokes, and Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you. I think there's a way we could compromise, and that compromise could be that we don't have to have something set in stone tonight that says 5 years. That we go through the interview process, and that we could have Bob, Tom, Melissa, and Lauren all interview. And Melissa's plan is to only work 3 more years, and the rest of them want to work for another 20 years. But we work with the qualified candidate at the end, and if it happens to be Melissa, then we give her a 3-year contract. If it happens to be Lauren, Tom, or Bob, then we look at a 3 or maybe a 5. I don't think this needs to be set in stone. What I'm worried about right now is that council might do a disservice by having something set in stone right now before we've even interviewed our finalists. Because I do not want to, right now, the deputy mayor said, by some arbitrary number, right, 5, we're just saying 5, disqualify a very qualified or possibly the most qualified candidate. We don't know right now. None of us in this room can tell us who's going to be our CAO in 3 or 4 months. So right now, what we're doing by making it 5 years, if we know one of our finalists wants to retire in 4 years, we're already disqualifying that person, and that's not fair. That's not fair to that person going into that interview, and that's not fair to another 4th person that could have been interviewed. So what I'm saying tonight is, let's just remove that last line. Let's just remove the last line. Wait till we get it. We're all mature people. When we find out who we want to hire, we work with that person. If it's Melissa, who wants to only work for 3 years, we say, Melissa, give it for 3 years. If it's Bob, Tom, Lauren, we say, give it for 5, or whatever. I think we need to remove that language right now. Tonight, it's kind of scary.
Councillor Vokes and Councillor Bjorkman.
I agree. And bearing in mind, people, by the way, when you put the 5-year consideration terms, even though there's candidates in line, you have to, as a human resource manager myself outside of here, is you're going to set yourself up for discrimination because there's age-bearing considerations based on the candidate and their given age. So you got to be careful with that. So I would suggest to council that you don't put any perimeters, and you simply just hire the CAO based on qualification and goodwill. Nothing other than that. You don't have to look back and question what you've done in terms of the hiring process. It's very clean. It's very clear. It's not questionable by anybody. When you put the 5-year perimeter, 2-year perimeter, questions could arise that we can't support.
Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've actually, this whole idea of a contract time surprised me. We hire people on contract because we're filling gaps and we're looking to see if they fit us, if they work with us. We're hiring a CAO. It shouldn't be a contract position in my experience. You got a corporation you're running. We're not bringing somebody in to learn on the job. We're not bringing somebody in here to figure out what. No, this is the CAO. And as far as, and I'm not privy to any of the personnel conversations. I mean, it's not ever been my area. But to me, this is the CAO. And I just don't see where the contract part comes into that. We're hiring somebody to help us run this town, to be the chief of our administration, and we got to have faith we got the right one. And if it's not, well, there's termination language on either way. So I agree that at this point in time with Sherry that we should remove that from there, and we will work our way into the right person and the right amount of time.
Anyone further to that? Deputy Mayor Malash, you made the motion, so you get the last shot at this, and then and Councillor Snively has said yes, so we'll take out that last line. That's it. Okay. So we have the motion right up to where the last line, to include language. That's removed now. Ready for the question? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 13, new business. Councillor Bondi speaking to the idling bylaw.
Councillor Bondi?
Thank you. We don't have to, did we already do the recommendation to Council for Communities in Bloom? Did we do that as well? Was that part
Yes,
of
speaking
it?
through your
Okay, we
worship,
did it
it was an all-inclusive motion, yes.
all? Okay, sorry. Okay, I got so caught up. Thank you. With everything that's been going on, and the City of Windsor has been approached to reduce their idling bylaw, I believe, from 3 minutes to 1 minute. I just want to see if there's appetite in the town of Essex to look at an idling bylaw. I believe there's no idling bylaws in the county, but that doesn't mean because we haven't done it that we shouldn't be looking at it. I feel like I'm pretty progressive, and I want to see some green strategies happen here in our town. Ann Jarvis did a great article in the Windsor Star a couple weeks ago talking about what we can do, what each of us can do in order to reduce carbon emissions. And, you know, it's really made me think, and since the nice weather has broke, my daughter rides her bike to school every day, so that helps, because in the Harrow community, surprisingly, there is a lot of people that still drop their kids off at school. But, you know, and this is something that happened at the school, at Harrow Public. The cars were literally idling there for 15 minutes, waiting for the school to open in the morning. And when parents went to pick up their children, they were idling again for another 15 minutes. So Parent Council did go through the school board and put up some anti-idling signs. And it's really kind of been on my mind all the time. And then when I saw this article, I thought, you know, maybe I could bring it up to council. And we all know that our air quality in Windsor, Essex is really poor. And other things, other facts that come up, you know, if you idle your car for more than 1 minute, you're actually using more gas than it takes to turn it off and to turn it on. And it just really seems like an initiative that's pulls at my heartstrings, and at my daughter Katrina as well. You know we have a no idling bylaw with me that sometimes drives my family crazy. And I just think it's something that I would love to see council endorse. And I know it's maybe not urgent, but something like this seems to always not be urgent, and then you go another 6 years and nothing has been done. So at what point does air quality become urgent, right? You know, usually after the fact when it's too late. So I have an article here I would love to pass to administration, and when we, possibly when we get our new CAO in place, it could be something that we start to work on as a council, if council sees it as something that they would like to see.
Any comment? Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, certainly it's a great idea. The problem always is enforcing the bylaw. I mean, to create the bylaw is not the hard part. It's to make sure you have the pieces in place that the bylaw is going to have some effect. So that would be my only concern. I think there should be some discussion as to how we go about doing that. What do we put in place to make sure if we create that bylaw that it'll have its desired effect.
Councilor Bjork.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like the idea of it. I think it's something that needs to be done. It's happening more and more. And to what Councilor Caxera was saying, you start with it at places like the school, because around the school, the other parents are there with their kids, and your car is running. They're all off. It's pretty easy to have a look over, and somebody says, "Hey, did you see the sign?" And you start to enforce it in those areas by actually the residents enforcing the bylaw themselves. There's a lot of places that we run into, leave our cars running, and if we have areas that become idle-free, it helps when the bylaw comes along. So I think it's something really worth looking at, worth taking our time and looking into it. It's going to make our air quality better. We need to do those kind of things. So I like the idea of at least getting it on our list, getting it on our radar, and moving forward.
Councilor Vokes.
I so admire Sherry's drive, but I'm a little bit of a realist. But, you know, we can't get people clean their yards up. Larry started tonight with property standards. Can't get people clean their yards up. Now we're going to tell them shut the cars off. We're just setting ourselves up for a failure. And we're going to spend a lot of administrative time doing it. We're going to put signs up. We're going to get... So Randy Vokes is idling his car this morning. Who's going to come up and tell me shut my car off? Who? I'm starting to sound like an owl here. Who? And I'm a realist. Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? Who's going to walk up to me and go, and I put my window down. Yeah, what do you want? Shut your car off. Pardon me? Shut your car off. Shut my car off. Yeah, shut your car off. When you see that rolling out, really, like, I'm just a realist. So, and the reason I'm saying a realist, and Sherry, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to spend time and energy on that. We got so many other things. So many things. And we're setting ourselves up for a failure again. Even though I agree and you understand the environment much more than I do. Much more than I do. But I don't want to set myself up for a failure. You know, we talked about about the, I'm trying to think of the tourist thing in terms of, what was that? Help me out. No. People were asking, what's that got to do with tourism? The next day, they're going, what's that got to do with tourism? Right? And so I'm just saying to myself, we got to be careful what we set ourselves up for.
Okay, I have Councilor Bondi, Councilor Bjorkman, Councilor Snively, but just before that, he asked a question, and I would hope it'd be a police officer would be the only guy that could knock on your window and says, shut your car off. And I would hope, but I would have to ask Councilor Bondi what her thoughts were, because she's the one that brought this up. But I don't know who else could give you a ticket other than a police officer if we had this going. So you're next, Councilor Bondi, and then Councilor Bjorkman and Councilor Snively.
Thank you. If bringing awareness to this issue stops 30% of the people from idling a little bit more, then that's working, right? It's all a part of, when we first started doing this, the smoking in public places, people are saying, how can you enforce it? How can you enforce it? And look, the ball is really rolling now with smoking. We're not enforcing it, but it's self-enforcing, and it's part of denormalizing behaviors we do not want to see. We do not wish to see smoking around children, and it's happening less and less. And I'll tell you, it's self-enforcing. Before, now, it's becoming more and more apparent that you shouldn't leave a dog in a car when you go shopping, correct? This past weekend at Babies R Us, my whole family was in the car. We went into the Babies R Us. A gentleman and his daughter went into Babies R Us, left the dog in the car. My boyfriend went right up to the gentleman and said, "Excuse me, sir, your dog's in the car." He's like, "Oh." He went back, got in his car, and I don't know where he went. Maybe he went shopping somewhere else. We then called the police. 2 police cars came and patrolled the Babies R Us parking lot for 45 minutes. So, you know, some of these bylaws, they have teeth eventually. It's about setting good examples for our children, setting good, waste management. There's only an infinite amount. There's not an unlimited amount of fuel out there. Why wouldn't we do this? And I don't believe that we can't do this and do something else at the same time. And I think that we could look at a corporate policy about our own vehicles as well. And I think we might have some corporate policy, but anyways, it's something. But it's self-enforcing, and it's denormalization of a bad, not wanted behavior.
Thank you. Councillor Bjorkman.
There are far more people out there that will do the right thing just because it's the right thing than will thumb their nose at something that is a good initiative. Recycling is the best one. There's no enforcement to recycle. There's no bylaw to recycle. I didn't recycle 20 years ago. But today I recycle everything. And why do I do it? Because my kids said, Dad, you can't throw that can into garbage. And when my kids say, Dad, you can't leave the car running. We're at the school. Everybody turns the cars off at the school. That's going to make it happen. And regardless of how we go about with the bylaw and the enforcement, whatever, it's normalizing it. It's making it the thing that just happens. People accept it. And again, there are far more people out there that once they realize what they're doing is a contribution, they'll stop doing it. Thank you.
Councillor Snively.
Your Worship, I agree with what Sherry's saying. I think a lot of it's got to do with educating the people. And you know what? Even if you got a handful of people to do, it's working. Now, Your Worship, going back to the smoking bylaw, if you recall, I was a mayor back then when that bylaw came in, and you remember the heat I got from you on that one, from the Legion? Yes.
About the Legion, yes, sir.
And I'll tell you something. I'll never forget some of the words you and I had about the smoking bylaw, because you really were against it at that time, which was okay because it did hurt some of the businesses for a while. But you look at it now, there's nobody that smokes in businesses and restaurants anymore, or public places, parks. And it's one of the healthiest things we ever did. So getting to this idling issue, even if you had a handful of people start out, it's working. So I agree with Sherry 100%. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Vokes and then Councillor Caxero.
Thank you, Worship. I just got to go back a couple minutes ago. It would be much easier to support it, knowing how we're going to enforce it. I haven't heard that yet. How are we going to enforce it? We're going to pass something tonight, or talk about it, or do it, or whatever, and we don't even know how we're going to enforce it. We got no measures for enforcing it. Not even a suggestion. Nobody has said, well, let's send a report to the OPP and see if they can put the manpower towards it to make sure they drive around the school zones and the town zones and wherever it may be, tapping on windows, asking people to shut their cars off, and then find out how much our cost is for doing that. Or we could get Wayne or we could get Kevin to tap on windows and show their proof. But I haven't heard any process for enforcing it. It's all goodwill. I get the goodwill part about it. I get the daisies and the fresh flowers and the tree hugging and all that. But I'm trying to understand how we're going to enforce it. And if somebody says to me, well, Vokes, here's how we're going to enforce it. And if that makes sense, then let's do it. It makes sense. Let's do it. Nothing here makes sense in terms of enforcement. It's all, yeah, let's have them come back with a report how to enforce it. And we're already on the hook for thousands of dollars in reports in administrative time on how to enforce it that we're never going to be able to do. How's that for being a realist?
Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, and that's the part that I struggle too with, is the enforcement. Great idea. Maybe we don't create a bylaw at this point. Maybe we decide to put up signs and call them no idling areas. We don't have to have a bylaw to do that. It's basically suggesting that people not idle in these areas and see how that works. And I mean, if we see that that doesn't have any desired effect, then at that point maybe we have to have a discussion. Or in the meantime, we can have a report written and decide how we would enforce it if we were going to create a bylaw. I just don't think it's worthwhile creating a bylaw, because the whole point of a bylaw is you have a rule that you're putting in place that you're going to have enforced. But if you're not going to enforce the rule, and we have probably half of our bylaws that are there that don't get enforced, so it almost becomes, you know, why do we do this? Why do we create these laws and we don't have any way of getting people to follow them? So I wouldn't want to add another one to the pile unless we have a good process in place to enforce it. But I would support 100% putting, whether it be at the schools, maybe here on town property, whatever, put up some signs and let's get people more knowledgeable, more educated on the fact that it is bad for the environment. It does increase our carbon footprint, and we're trying to reduce that. We're trying to reduce greenhouse gases.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll just have a couple comments. Councillor Bondi and Councillor Snively both said they're not looking for the police to drive around and everything. Educate us drivers through the schools, through our newspaper. You know, the town can just put a little ad in there, you know, a couple of weeks in a row saying, hey, we're going to quit idling our vehicles in front of any place, like a minute's your maximum. And I didn't read that article Councillor Bondi was talking about in the Windsor Star, but I hope Mrs. Landers, or Miss Landers, said something to the city of Windsor to coordinate their signs instead of having to stop every minute at every light coming down Howard Avenue, going across Wyandotte Street. If they would coordinate those signs a little bit, I wouldn't have to stop at every one of them. And every bus has to stop there. Like you get 6, 8 vehicles in a row stopping at every light. They need to start. I hope Mrs. Landers said something about getting the city to stop this idling. And that's a good way to get it started with them, those lights. Councillor Caxero.
On that, through your worship, in Winnipeg, something that I noticed that they do, and that's a big city, a lot of their lights are thrown onto flashing yellow and flashing red. They don't have regular stoplights in a lot of their areas of the city, so you either are going through the intersection on a caution, or you're stopping and then going through without having to wait for a light to turn. So that's something definitely that would cause cars to be stopped for longer periods of time. And that's a big city of 800,000 people. So if they can do something like that, certainly there's all kinds of things we can do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Item 13B under new business added tonight is Councillor Snively speaking to the harbor parking, and secondly to organizations asking for taxpayer money.
Sure. Councillor Vogt.
Unless I'm missing something, I don't know what the answer was in terms of Mrs. Bondi's concern, Councillor Bondi's concern on idling. We just moved to the next issue. No, she didn't even get an answer as to what we're going to do, because I didn't hear it, unless she did and I didn't.
If I may, Councillor Snively, if you may.
Through your worship, I think when we're talking about educating the public through the paper was a recommendation. I think your worship, you made that recommendation.
Well, I think Councillor Bondi did, and you were supporting that.
Yeah.
No motion was made.
Okay.
It's just
the only. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it was
worship.
just
The only thing we didn't do was a motion to support that. So.
Okay.
I think a motion. I'll make that motion if you'd like.
Okay.
Worship. I make a motion that we educate the public through the press. Yeah. Okay, and maybe Councillor Caxero's recommendation on signage at the schools and public properties like the arenas and stuff like that. I think that's a great idea. I would make that a motion.
Look, for a conversation, I'll even second.
Okay, Councillor Vogt seconds it. Questions to the motion? Discussion? No? Councillor Caxero.
Just wondering through you if we should have administration come back with a report suggesting what that's going to look like, or do we want to do we just want to give them kind of latitude to do whatever they feel is good? I just think maybe a report suggesting that this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a campaign and advertising. We're going to put it on our webpage. We're going to put it in the papers. We're going to put signs up in locations A through F. And this is what it looks like from our perspective. and then council approves or disapproves that, or changes it to whatever our liking is? Or do we want to just give them the latitude to do what they please and then just let us know what they did? I don't know.
That would save us making them make out a report. Councillor Snively.
Yeah, through your worship, I don't want to go give administration another duty to bring back a report. Let's just move forward on this. I think it's a simple issue. It's education, okay? And through the, like I say, through the press and a few signage in our public places. Thank you. And the motion was already made, and Councillor Bowen seconded that.
Yeah, Councillor Vogt.
People, I gotta tell you something. Somebody correct me where I'm wrong, please. Education's not putting a sign up. That's not education. That's not education. Education to me is going into the schools, going into the high schools, working through public processes and enlightening people on what we're doing. That's educating, not putting a sign up. So I don't want to fleet through something by saying, well, we're going to educate people, and then you get stopped and somebody says, oh, what are you doing? What's that education? I seen that. What are you going to educate? Oh, we put a sign up. No, but what about the education? Oh, no, we put a sign up. So here we are. So the motion should talk to how are we going to educate? Are we
No, let him finish.
Are we going to talk to the schools? Are we going to talk to the youth groups? Are we going to talk to the police? Are we going to talk to, who are we going to talk to, and what are we going to launch?
No. I am going to give him his answer. He's gotten the answer 2 or 3 times already. You just said it yourself. We're going to the schools. We're going to our web page. We're going to the papers. That's education. Julie, education. You know, we're educating that way. Now, it's also been added that maybe we need to put the odd sign up wherever administration thinks. That's going to educate the people that aren't in schools, and the adults that don't have kids in schools, bringing that letter home, telling Mama, Daddy, you know, maybe it's Grandpa. They don't see those kids. They're going to see that sign maybe. So we're educating always without going to the police and say start ticketing them.
Your worship, if I could to that. So who's going to do that? Who's going to educate in the schools? Are we going to give it to a teacher to do? That's my point. To say we're going to educate is fine. I get that. But who's going to do it? Like we sit here as a council and say, we're going to educate the people on idling in the schools. Well, we do it in the schools. Those aren't, the children aren't idling. They're not idling. The parents are idling. So I'm trying to understand respectfully, non-conflictually, that if as a council we're going to put a process in place, let's make sure it has a good mandate to it. Let's just not say we're going to educate without knowing who's going to do that education process part of it.
If I may,
yes,
I would think my first choice, my first guess would be Mr. Sweet.
But
we would
can't
go to him, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Someone in the town would print this out, and that would go to the schools, all of our schools. It's that simple. But it's not a lot of work.
You just can't launch stuff into a school educational forum and ask them to start educating the kids on that because we tell them to do it. It's not part of the curriculum to do that.
But they do this, I wouldn't say daily, send notes home with the kids to the parents with regards to issues like this one. But I'm not...
The board controls what is given to kids.
You're right. You're
not
right.
us.
Okay. You and I are done for right now, Randy, and I'm going to Steve and Sherry, okay? Excuse me. Councillor Bjorkman, Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I think what we're looking at as far as education is what Councillor Snively had said, was to look at putting something in the paper our adults will see, putting on our website. Lori has shown she's very good at putting programs together and putting projects together. in order to put that out and explain to the public what's going on our webpage. That's there. We already own that. That's something we can do easily. The sign is just for people's awareness as they're at certain spots. We don't want idling at that spot. So that's the basis of it. The rest is, as Councillor Bondi has asked for, is that we just begin to look at it. That's where we are. We're at the very first stage of beginning to look at, is this something that we want to pursue as a council and as an administration? And we'll have that conversation, that dialogue, and as she said, won't happen until the new CAO is here, and it's going to be down on the list. It's not something that's going to be at the top of the list. So we've got time to work on these things. We want it on the radar. We want to know, we want our public to know that we're concerned with pollution and the air quality. That's, from everything I've heard here, I believe that's how we're going about it.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor, right? Okay, I just heard from our acting CEO, why are you letting them go on like this? She didn't put it in those terms, but she's right. Okay, who made the motion? Councillor Vaux wants to know what it is.
Yeah, Councillor Snively.
And Councillor Bondi supported it.
No, Councillor Vaux
Councillor Vaux
supported
did. Sorry, you're right. Do you want to read it, Rob, please?
Something along the lines of providing, Your Worship, anti-idling education in the paper, the website, via other communications, as well as signage in schools and public properties, all as part of an education and awareness program.
Okay, I'm going to allow Councillor Bondi, and then as the motion maker, Councillor Snively, to have a final remark if he has one. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you. I believe it's the job of municipal councillors to set policy. So I think I honestly do think this has to go to administration and unfortunately come back as a report of some form. And it doesn't have to be immediate, but it would be like a framework of Essex anti-idling strategy. And it could be, the strategy could be in terms of public education in the schools. We could create a little nifty bookmark where when fire goes to the schools, they can pass out the bookmark. This doesn't have to be all-encompassing. It's baby steps, right? This is the first time we've even had this conversation. The policy would state which, parks and rec we want to see signs up. And I think it's just, we want to start picking away at it, and it needs to be on our radar. One part of the policy, I think, should be town vehicles. I've been at the Harrow Library when the town truck is there gardening for half an hour or more, and the truck is idling. And I'm like, why is the truck idling? So I hate to use the low-hanging fruit terms, but there are so low-hanging fruit. Right now we can start with internal memos. The council doesn't want to see town trucks idling. We have to set by example, right? And we have to be leaders. So by having this conversation, we're already doing that. So just looking at a policy of our parks and rec public lands, our parking lots, and then looking at maybe, a jazzy little bookmark for the schools. Maybe we can run a contest in the fall and the students come up with a slogan, stop and turn it off, or I don't know, whatever it is. When you're stop, you're off, something like that. We can incorporate the youth, maybe, maybe not these current youth reps, but our new youth reps can run with it. It's just the beginning conversation to see if there's appetite for further conversation. And I think there is. But I do think something has to come back from administration in the term of a policy, of a report, or a strategy on to see how to see what we want done.
That was a good one. I like that. When you're stopped, you're off. Yeah. I like that. Councillor Snively, wrap up.
Yeah, through your worship, I'll change my motion to state that a report comes back to administration with some recommendations.
Is that okay with the seconder, Councillor Vogt?
Through your worship, we have to strike the first motion. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So the first motion is to be struck, and is there a new motion on the floor?
Second one made by
The second
Councillor.
motion is come back from administration with a report with recommendations, what they feel we should be doing, like through public education and signage, whatever.
Okay.
Let's see what the report's going to come back.
Second.
I mean, this went on and on and on. It shouldn't have went on this long, really.
Right.
I mean,
Councillor Caxero, you seconded it?
That's my fault, everybody else's fault. We let people talk 2, 3, 4 times. And,
That's the chair's
we
fault.
talk once or twice on the issue. And
Yeah,
that's it.
that's the chair's fault.
Thank you.
Seconded by Councillor Caxero. Yep. Any questions to that motion? New motion. All in favor?
Item 13B, new business, Councillor Snively on harbor parking and organization's request for taxpayer money.
Thank you, Rob. Through your worship, to Chris, question for Chris. We have a problem down at the Colchester Harbor, okay, in the park itself. We've spent, I don't know, the amount of $60,000 down there in that area for the sidewalks and whatever down at that park. The issue is we have people, okay, driving over the cement, over the front part, okay, of what taxpayers' money, hard-earned money, went into our park area down there, which, by the way, is beautiful. I hope everybody's seen it. They did a hell of a nice job down there. It's beautiful. But I don't want to see it ruined. I don't want to see it ruined. We have a huge event down there this weekend. Saturday is the biggest event for Colchester Harbor, the fishing derby. The place is packed. And I would like to see somehow we could rope off the walkway, okay, there, and have people park. I'm not against people parking in the park itself, but to the west of the sidewalk. Furthermore, we're going to have to do something eventually with parking along Jackson there. If it's angle parking, I don't know. I know, Chris, you're working on that. But furthermore, there's got to be instructions down there for this weekend and many weekends, because that harbor is getting very, very, very busy, and we're proud to see it. And Steve, Councillor Bjarkman, you see it yourself down there. It's getting busier and busier, and I'm proud that we own that park down there. But getting to the parking issue, we have the old school across from Christ Church, okay, which is a big area, okay. Let's get the people parking in there on Saturday. We have the waterworks, okay, let's get the people parking in there. And I think, I'm not sure on this here, but I don't know if we made arrangements for the property on it would be on the southwest corner of Jackson. I don't know if we made the owner an agreement there yet or not. Yeah, northwest corner. I don't know if we made a deal there yet, if we can use that, but we have to look at further parking. We're not going to ruin our park. And furthermore, on parking, we have a real issue. I've asked for a sign up on top to keep cars from going down that harbor, and I use that harbor a lot. And I'm telling you, it's congested down there. We have everybody parking down there, everybody driving down there, turning around, viewing the lake down there. That's for boaters, okay, and boaters only down there. And I don't know why people are going down there parking, jamming up the area where the launch pad is. Somehow we got to get some signage there to keep the public from going down there. So that's my issue there. And Chris, I don't know what we're doing this weekend for parking. If you or Doug can answer that, thank you.
To your worship.
Mr. Sweet, Director of Community Services.
Through your worship, for the Walleye Derby, we've implemented a process in the past, and we've already started this year. We sent out a parking plan to the organizers where they show people how to park, and with the sidewalk there this year, we are going to snow fence all along it so people can't park in that area. They can still park to the west of the sidewalk, but we are roping that off. For future parking, we do have to work with infrastructure to look at strategy for along Jackson Street and Richardson Lane, and we have a meeting tomorrow to review that. In terms of the ramp, that is public access, so we're trying to control it best, but people go down there for the beach, for the concession stand, so it's a good problem as a town that we are experiencing, that it's a very popular area, but we do have to come up with a parking strategy because it's more than the Derby. It's every weekend now we're having this issue, so that's why we are meeting on it tomorrow.
Your worship, to that, another issue is parking where the trailer parking is only on the north side of where the restaurant is. And you know where I'm talking about, where Frosty's is, okay? Frosty's has a business there, and are using our parking facilities for their consumers there. And that's creating a problem. As far as I know, and what was recommended or told to us here, sitting right here, when he come forward in front of council, he said that he would have his own parking facilities put in place. That's never, ever, ever happened. Never. We give him an extension on parking to get it done. He didn't do anything. He put a microbrewery in there. So I don't know if anybody's ever followed up with him and asked him when he's putting in his own parking there, or is he going to use our parking all the way along and jam it up in there for trailer parking? That's another concern. And I don't know, Doug, if you can answer that, if anybody's approached him, when he's going to get his, or Chris, when's he going to get his own parking facility put in there, when he's going to pave. He was supposed to pave in there, he didn't do it.
Through your worship, I was talking to the CBO and Property Standards Bylaw Enforcement last week about that very issue, and we're following through to see where he's at with respect to his site plan control agreement and that parking and the microbrewery back there, which he has approval for. So that's something we're working through with him, and I'll update council with an email then.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Councillor.
Item 14, notices of motion. Oh, you do?
Oh.
Okay.
Worship, I just want to touch on this very briefly. As a municipality, as a councillor, and as councillors here, we have a big responsibility on spending taxpayers' money in the right areas. We have lots of organizations that come in front of us every year asking for money. Donna, I don't know what we hand out per year. Is it around 100,000?
Through you, Your Worship, yes it is.
So $100,000 of hard-earned taxpayers' money that we just give out to organizations. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I think we should cut back. We have roads that's failing. We have sidewalks that need repair. We have people that we gave money to. We have people that we turned down. We have people that we turned down. I go to local business, and we're getting bad-mouthed. We're getting bad-mouthed as council and the town for not giving them money. Well, I'll be damned if I'm going to give taxpayers money out. And for somebody that's unhappy and has to go out there in the public and criticize us for not giving them money, that's not right. I think we're very fair with people that come in front of us where we're giving taxpayers money. So I would like to see us cut back on giving hard-earned taxpayers money out to organizations. I'll tell you, I'm not patting myself on the back, but if I can raise $100,000 in my front yard over 10 years to raise money for cancer for Med Hospital, I'm sure organizations can raise $10,000 or $20,000. I'm sure they can. Don't come to council and don't come to the town of Essex and ask for money and then turn around and criticize us. They don't get it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, sir. Councillor Vokes.
I think if you're gonna talk to the issue in terms of monies as it's being dispersed and dispensed out through a council, it should be. I don't think we should be talking specifically to one group. I think that's what you did there. No, I did, Councillor. And well,
Hey, no, you're going to come through the chair.
Personally, myself, I think you did. And in terms of the money we spend $118,000, or we spend $100,000 in supporting where we can support. We spent in 2014, we spent $118,000 going to conferences. That there's absolutely nothing, not one thing tangible as a result of that. So when, and you don't call it point of order, because it is.
Certainly
I'm
point of
going,
order.
no,
Point of order has nothing
listen,
to do with
both of
additional
you.
money.
I'm going to call point of order. The issue
You're
is,
protecting the conference consideration.
Councilor
Of course
Vokes,
you'll call a
please.
point of order.
Please.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done then. You know you will call a point of order. It will protect yourselves from what you're doing.
okay, Councilor Snively brought up a point that, and this should only be discussed at grant time. People put in for grants yearly, and that's when we deal with these issues. And I'll get in on this a little bit and say we weren't happy just to give away $100,000. We had to get a $2,500 discretionary fund to do whatever we wanted to do with.
Point of order.
Okay.
If you wish to make this argument, you should hand over the gavel.
Rather than have an argument, no, maybe I will turn it over to the Deputy Mayor Malash. Thank you, sir. Through you, Mr. Chair. Councilor Snively brought up a very good point with regards to the way we hand out money. And we shouldn't be discussing it here tonight. It's a valid point. We deal with this at budget time. Not budget time, but at around budget time when we're allocating monies. And it presently, I guess it's $100,000. And I agree with them. We have cut back with some organizations. You know, we try to get them started, but some of them, we kept them going. We kept feeding money to them. Let them feed their own money in there instead of our tax dollars' monies. And that's what I say when we've been doing these grant things. We know that. You people know I'm against giving all that money out there. And when I made reference to $2,500 from us, you know, that's over and above our grant monies, and that's all that is. Oh, so-and-so wants some money. Well, and I don't know who did it. We did it as a council. That, yep, we got $2,500 to do whatever I want to do with it. Not the council, me, with the approval of council, of course, but to me, and I'll speak against it. I wasn't for it, but it's allowed because the majority rules here. But he's right. We give way too much money where it's not needed. Now, Councilor Vokes is right sometimes too, that, hey, maybe if we hadn't given so much away right off the bat, we'd have had some more in that fund to give it to this group or something major that happened. So I agree with what Councilor Snively has said, 100%. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have Councilor Bondi.
Thank you. I'll be quick, I hope. During the first term of council, we looked at the amount of money that we were giving away and we said, it's too much, we need to scale it back, especially to some organizations that seem to be systematically asking for money. We want to be seed money, we want to help organizations that are just starting off. Maybe perhaps the finance committee needs to, next time they meet, certainly not urgent, review the amount that we have it all together as a grant. Maybe that's something that they can look at. I'm also reflecting back. I'm also hesitant to make commitments on multiple years, like saying, you know, we're going to give this organization 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, because we're committing funds that we don't already have. And organizations can fold and new organizations can spring up, and then we already have funds committed. So I'm kind of regretting that we did that. And, you know, once the money's gone, the money's gone. But I understand where Councillor Snively's coming from, and I understand where Councillor Vokes is coming from. I don't think tonight is the night to really hash it out and get a new policy, but I understand where you're coming from too, Mayor McDermott.
Thank you. I have Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Being a new councillor and being on the Finance Committee the last couple of years, I would say I've been more than happy to give the money that we've given on behalf of the taxpayers of this town to the organizations we've given it to. There are many organizations in this town that benefit this town that do not have funding, and for various reasons won't. Others that the seed money has been a great thing to get festivals started, to get organizations started, and those people receive less and less each year. It allows more room for us to start the next one. And they get less and less each year, and we start the next one. It's a great benefit to those from those organizations and from those festivals that we get as a town in goodwill, and people coming here gets our downtowns with people driving through them, looking through them. So I will say, based on what I know as being part of that finance committee, I have no regrets using that money, because I believe we get it back tenfold with the organizations that we support.
I'll make this quick. One, in terms of reducing organizations and the monies we give, we reduced the funding going to the youth center. The youth center now is going to close. And young people, and I see Lauren there, and I'm sure she can relate to it during her daily school activities. But we got young women today who are pregnant and got no place to go for counseling. We got young people hooked on drugs who got no place to go for counseling. We got children and teenagers that are being bullied, got no place to go for counseling. And the youth center used to be that olive branch to them where they could go. And then as a result of the cutback, that counseling went to Leamington, to the hospital. That's where you could get it as a teenager. So if you were having a drug problem, or if you were a young lady pregnant, or if you were being bullied, you used to have that opportunity right here in Essex. But as a result of that cutback, you don't have it no more. And so in terms of what we cut back and when we cut back, we got to be very, very considerate to what we're given. And you're right, Councillor Snively, there are some fundings going out there that totally could be questionable. But I don't think it's just as easy as throwing a rug out there and going, okay, let's cut back. Because some of it is very meritable in terms of what we're given. I don't want the signal to be that, or the suggestion to be that we're not diligent to money and how we're dispensing it.
Thank you. Councillor Snively.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Votes to Councillor Votes. I'm a strong supporter of youth. I've always have been, and done a lot of fundraiser for youth. You know, I put on pig roast for them, raised thousands of dollars for youth centers. And I work with the Essex Youth Center here too. And it breaks my heart to see the youth centers close. And I agree with you 100% that if the town's going to fund anything, okay, we should be looking at youth centers. That's what the teen centers, you know, where they need help. Okay, I'm not saying let's get away from all the funding altogether. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we got to be careful where our funds are going. You know, I would be 100% in favor of funding the youth center, funding the teen center. And you're right. Young girls go out there and they get pregnant. You know, it's a mistake. They need help. There's people, young people on drugs. They need help. You know, there's people with single parent. They need help. I understand that. But we folded all that. We haven't got it any longer here in this town and Harold, which is sad, which is really sad. We do have the teen center in Harold, but it's really sad that we can't put our funding, this is the way I look at it, our funding should be in areas where it is helping the people. All I'm saying, Councillor, is we got to look at where we're funding, and you even just said it, where we're funding, where we're putting the taxpayers' money. I think there's sometimes we're giving out taxpayers' money in the wrong areas. That's all I have to say. And I agree, Councillor Votes, with what you just stated. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Snively. Councillor Caxero and Youth Councillor Abbott are the two that haven't spoken on this issue. If either one of you want to speak, I'll allow that. And then I'm going to give it back to Mayor McDermott. Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll switch with you because I just have one thing that I wanted to add to. With regard to what we fund, it's not even just, everything's debatable with what we do here at Council. There's been a lot of good discussion on who we give money to, which organizations, and whether we should or whether we shouldn't give money at all. but that goes with every aspect of what we do in the budget. Whether we pave a road or whether we don't pave a road, whether we buy park equipment or whether we don't buy park equipment. There's priorities set through everything that we do at this council. So continuously you'll have different opinions. And what is important, and the reason why we have 7 members of council, is that the majority rules. As long as there's 4 councilors out of the 7, or 4 members of council, I should say, out of the 7, because one of our members is the mayor. But as long as there's 4 out of 7 that believe that we're moving in the right direction, that's how we move forward in the best way, using taxpayers' money. And that's what we're here for. We're here to debate like what we just did and make decisions on what we think is the best. We have done that in the past, and every dollar that we've given away has been because a majority of this council has decided that that's what we want to do with the money that we are responsible for. So, I mean, we can change what we want to do going forward. But again, it's not just the finance committee, it's not just one person on council that makes the decision. Everything that we do has to be a majority of council. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item 14, notices of motion. I wish to advise your worship that the 2 notices of motion made previously at the May 2nd, 2016 meeting, and as noted on the agenda cover, were subsequently withdrawn by the mover.
Thank you.
Item 15, announcements this evening. Oh, Richard.
Are there any announcements to be made? Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, Mayor McDermott, you're usually down there on Saturday. It's the fishing derby. You're usually there when they present the big prize for the biggest fish. It's a big, huge event down at Colchester. There's usually 600-700 people involved with that. It's a huge event. So just to let everybody know, it's this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Once you've recovered from going to the fishing derby on Sunday, McGregor Music Festival for Cancer, it runs from noon till 10 o'clock in the evening. Every hour the band changes up. There's lots of raffles and prizes, good food, and lots of really good music. Everybody donates their time. That's this coming Sunday, June the 12th. It's at Coan Park in McGregor. It's a wonderful festival. It's the largest fundraiser for the Regional Cancer Center that they have in the entire year. Raises about $25,000 for our Regional Cancer Center. All the dollars stay right here in the Windsor-Essex region. So if you can come out Sunday from noon till 10 o'clock at night, just can come and go. You don't have to be there the whole time. $5 admission, and you get to hear some really, really good bands. Thank you.
Anything further? And if you want to take a little break from what Richard just told you about, there's a free swim with the mayor. I believe it's 1 or 1:30, same Sunday. Sunday the 12th at our aquatic center, the old Essex High School, same place, same time, and hot dogs and pop after. Free. A free swim with the mayor, so bring your kids out too. Councillor Kexero.
Your worship, I know it's well advertised, but concert series is starting later this month also in both Colchester and Essex here. I believe it runs, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sweet, 10 weeks, 11 weeks? I think 11 or 12 weeks both here. I think there's an extra date here in Ward 1 in Essex Center. But that starts, I believe, it's not this week. Yeah, I think it's the following week.
Thank you, sir. Anything further? Thank you very much.
Item 16 on the agenda, bylaws. 16A, bylaws that require third and final reading. So this, your worship, this would be all bylaws that require third and final reading under 16A. Okay. We have a move?
I would just ask, Rob, if we are allowed to do that. I know in the past, I've asked our clerk, Mrs. Bondi, if we could do that, and she said, no, we had to read them separately, but the county, no. She said we could, but the county reads them separately. They say they have to read them one by one, but whatever we decide, again. Okay. Yep. Okay. Sure.
Your Worship, yes, I believe they could all be moved.
Okay. Seconder? Councilor Bjork. To the motion, any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 16B, bylaws that require a first, second, third reading. Bylaw number 1520, being a bylaw to enter into a transfer payment agreement for the Electric Vehicle Chargers Ontario program.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Melange, supported by Councilor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 16C, bylaws that require a first and second reading. Bylaw number 1526, being the confirming bylaw for this June 6 regular council meeting.
Moved by Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Councilor Vokes. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilor Caxero and Councilor Snively. All in favor? Motion carried. Have a great evening.